In 2015, Apple released one of the most futuristic yet flawed laptops of all time, the 12-inch MacBook. This was absolutely a love letter to what the future of laptops should have been. It was unbelievably thin, and it brought some legitimately huge changes on the technical front. Not only was this one of the very first devices to ship with a USB-C port, but it had a huge change to the way that they built keyboards, trackpads, it had a beautiful Retina display. This should have been the replacement for the MacBook Air, and yet it was a huge failure. The 12-inch MacBook started at $1,300, the same price as a relatively well-spec'd MacBook Pro, except that was a far more powerful system. The MacBook 12-inch had a measly Core M3 fanless processor. And let me tell you, a fanless Intel processor in 2015 was not a good idea because performance was absolutely atrocious. On top of that, while USB-C is well respected today, no one knew anything about it back in 2015, which meant that you lived in dongle town for everything. Made worse by the fact that it only had a single USB-C port, and technically a headphone jack, but it was very limited. Probably the worst element of the 12-inch MacBook was the keyboard. While the butterfly switch definitely had a very clicky style, it was really prone to failure. And when you did get a key stuck, which was gonna happen almost no matter what, well, you had to replace half your MacBook and spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars. And yet, all that being said, there's something about this hardware that just feels still like the future, even though this is officially now a 10-year-old laptop. I can't help but absolutely love the 12-inch MacBook when it comes to the hardware side. They have never released a laptop that is this thin, this tiny, this portable, and even though it is probably going to be incredibly slow, incredibly out of date in the year of 2025, I can't help it. I want to go down the 12-inch MacBook path. Is it a bad idea? Yes, it is. Am I gonna do it anyway? You better believe it. I knew that this wasn't a good idea, but I'm curious to see what's actually inside. This is my brand new, not new at all, 12-inch MacBook. So I purchased this on eBay, and I was specifically looking for one variant. I wanted one, first of all, with 16 gigs of RAM. Most of these, I would say the vast majority of them, shipped with 8 gigs, and that's just not enough. On top of that, this is the later model, so this is the 2017. So they didn't really update the MacBook that much. They made a 2015 model. I forget if they maybe slightly updated it for 2016, but then they slightly refreshed it in 2017. Unfortunately, I couldn't get my hands on one of the Core i7 versions. No one ever bought those. I really hope I really hope that the battery has some decent level of life, because while you can do a battery swap, it is incredibly difficult and kind of dangerous. Oh, look how tiny it is. Look at the little guy. A little dirty. Some scuffs, but no major chips. Look at this. Look how tiny this is. Oh, gross, dude. This is actually grody. Keyboard actually sounds fine. Let's plug it in. The single USB-C port. Oh, hey, oh, yes! Dual core, 1.2 gigahertz, 8 gigs of RAM. What? No, it's 8 gigs of. It's only 8. Can you read that? Does that say 16 gigabytes of RAM? Wait, it says 8 gigs of RAM. You motherfuckers. It says 16 gigs of RAM. Do you read that? And when I open it, it changes to 8 gigs because they realized they were overselling it. Oh, it's a new battery. Cycle count 1. The fact that this is a brand new battery is actually pretty good. And it does have more storage, but I really want the 16 gigs of RAM. So I've had to poke around and I'm starting to understand why this was wrong, because it is entirely the wrong computer. It said it had 16 gigs of RAM. Incorrect. It said it had a 256 gig SSD. Incorrect. It actually has a 512 gig. That's nice. It also said it was a 2017 MacBook. Incorrect. It's 2015. In fact, this is supposed to be space gray. Wait, it's supposed to be space gray. It's silver. Oh my God. This is actually wrong. I'm not excited anymore. And those fucks, they changed the listing. Okay, let's try this again, shall we? So I did end up returning that MacBook and have instead purchased another one. The good news, this should be the absolute cream of the crop when it comes to the 12-inch MacBook. 2017. Core i7, 16 gigs of RAM, 512 gig SSD. Literally the best 12-inch MacBook they ever made. I think this was probably over $2,000. The downside, I got into a little bit of a bidding war to win this one. And I'm not going to tell you how much I spent because I'm embarrassed to admit that. I'm very excited. I'm very, Very excited. Oh, that's lovely. It comes with a little USB dongle. Oh, that's sweet. So a lot of scratches on the top shell. Looks like maybe like some keys or something got dragged across it. Around the corners though, it's relatively nice. This also, importantly, has the second generation butterfly keyboard. It actually had some improvements to the reliability. Oh, what was that? Was that like a... Oh, okay, there we go. So now it worked. Okay, so a restart maybe fixed it. First and foremost, this is a MacBook 10,1, which is the 2017 model. It does show up as a Core i7. Memory is 16 gigs. Yes, 500 gigabyte SSD. Now, the biggest question I have is just on the battery life. So it is normal, 300 cycle count. Ooh. So 300 cycles is fine. The thing is though, this never had great battery life. It had like decent, acceptable battery life, but remember, this is before Apple Silicon. So this was using an efficient, but still a somewhat slow Intel processor. The problem with swapping the battery on these is that it is incredibly difficult because it's like a multi-tier, multiple piece thing. The most important thing is, this is in fact a maxed out ultimate spec 2017 MacBook 12-inch. Come with me, my friends, on the journey to discover if I have made a very expensive and very silly mistake, or whether or not this is in fact the truth. Say hello, my friends, to the 12-inch MacBook of my dreams. So I've had this thing set up and I've been daily driving it for 5 days now, and I have a lot of thoughts. So I updated it to the most recent version of macOS, then ran OpenCore Patcher, so I've got it all the way up onto Sequoia. Do you want the good or the bad first?
Bad.
Bad? Okay. Like I had mentioned earlier, there are some scratches on the back. Unfortunately, like dBraid actually doesn't sell skins anymore, so I might just live with that. The only thing that's actually broken, and it's not broken, is my up arrow. So this is what the down arrow sounds like. An up arrow.
Oh.
It doesn't really move. It still does work.
You fix it?
It did. It actually is now depressing more. Great example of the butterfly keyboard, which maybe we'll talk about that for a second. I will admit, I've actually never fully understood the hate for the butterfly keyboard. I understand from the perspective of when your keys stop working, totally get that. I like something that's a little different. And this keyboard is different. We're still going to the negatives? We're doing negatives still?
Wait, there's more? You listed a lot.
So it does have a somewhat substandard battery. So if you check it on iStat, you'll see that right now it is at 83% health with something like, I think, 301 cycles. I have had to charge this at least once a day, sometimes a little bit more. About 2.5 to 3 hours is what I've been getting with this. Other negatives would be, it gets real hot. The other day, I was sitting on the couch with my normal handful of tabs open. I've got Todoist, Slack, and whatnot. The processor was at 99 degrees. It's not just because the actual motherboard, the real sort of logic board's all up here, but the entire thing, palm rest on my lap, was actually uncomfortably warm. I knew that there were gonna be downsides, but can I tell you some of the upsides? Some of the glorious MacBooking that I've done? I MacBooked so hard, you've never seen a MacBook like my MacBook has MacBooked. I fucking love how tiny this thing is. I mean, it is so thin. And funny thing is, USB-C when it first came out was this huge detriment. But these days, if I'm using another MacBook of the 2015 sort of era, I miss having USB-C because that's the only charger I carry around with me every day. Like we discussed with the keyboard, even though it's a little bit less than perfectly reliable, I actually personally kind of enjoy typing on it. And what I love using is the touchpad. So this was the very first time that Apple ever did the Force touch trackpad. So you can click it anywhere. It's not physically moving, but it does a little sort of vibration. This trackpad is better than pretty much any Windows trackpad out there. The screen is decent. Put this next to a MacBook of 2015, specifically a MacBook Air, and it is night and day. It's high resolution, Retina, the whole thing. The speakers are also pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So because this has front-firing speakers, it actually sounds really good. There's so much about this design language. This was one of the first MacBooks that ever shipped without the glowing Apple logo. At least one of the first ones since like the freaking iBook or something. It's like they tried really hard with this. Johnny Ive was cooking. I will freely admit to you that the performance is lackluster. Even though I have the most badass 2017 MacBook they ever made, it definitely feels more than its age, which is unfortunate. All that being said, I love this device. I really, really love it. It is crazy to me at how much this feels like a feature laptop. I do wish I had more battery life. So
You don't need to wish. Just buy it. Just buy a battery
I
replacement.
just know that that's not an easy. I know that you can open this up.
Do it. Do it now.
So I do not feel bad about spending about $60 buying a third-party battery on Amazon. I know that this is not a normal battery replacement. This is the beginning of modern Apple, which is to glue absolutely everything down. So the fact that the battery comes with a lot of what I need is nice. However, I kind of trust iFixit stuff a little bit more. It does give me a tutorial, 47 steps. Part of the reason why it's a 47-step tutorial is because this is what a 12-inch MacBook battery looks like. It is not one battery. In fact, it is 5 individual cells, which are unbelievably thin. We're gonna make it through this together, and you're gonna last more than an hour on a charge. I will say, if you're following along at home, don't. Okay, so there's a little LED. Okay, I'm gonna hold that until the light turns off. That's good.
Hey, oh.
No, that's too down.
I just can't look at you. Like, it sounds bad, but
I know, most people can't look at me. Trackpad disconnected, boys. It says to get something sturdy, so we get the cube.
That is the sturdiest thing we have.
If this doesn't do it, nothing will. I'll put hand for scale. This is the entire motherboard. That's not just remove the battery now, it's apparently remove the USB-C port and the audio jack. Why?
I like how you say, I trust iFixit, and then you question every single step.
Lowercase assembly removal. Why do I need to do more things right now? This feels, I have my screen, keyboard, trackpad, and hinge removed. But I am somehow already on step number 25. I do not have to replace the logic board. You were lying to me. Why am I doing this for a battery? I'm literally taking the board out. I like how this computer got a, out of a rating of 10 on iFixit for repairability, it got a 1. I've got to take out the speakers too? Of course. Why am I questioning anything? You have to take out everything to get at the battery. This is the entire logic board. This was from 2015. And we're gonna go on to step 37, which is battery. Unlike a normal battery, which is just dropped into place, this is incredibly thin and incredibly glued down, which is why we have gotten ourselves the iFixit adhesive remover, and you're supposed to keep it out of the reach of children. Unfortunately, I've still got my hands on it anyway. Smells like nail polish remover.
Stop smelling caustic chemicals.
And we're just gonna go doop, 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 doop. Now I gotta wait 2 to 3 minutes. It's been 2 to 3 minutes yet? Oh God, oh, ew. And then do it on the, basically just keep doing the same thing over and over again. This, my friends, is the problematic customer that has required me to tear apart the entire device. So there's like individual layers. So it's not like a big flat cell. It fills up every possible square inch. So there's like 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers. All right, now I need to clean off all of my adhesive. This, my friends, is one very, very thoroughly cleaned bottom shell of a 12-inch MacBook. All my adhesives have been prepared. Looking good, get around the 1 screw hole here. And that, my friends, is a fully installed new battery in my MacBook. I have carefully reassembled the MacBook. This might just boot when I open it, because these MacBooks are normally meant to do that. So no signs of life right now. I'm gonna try to plug it in. Plugged in?
If the battery is just out of charge completely.
Well, the thing is though,
It was at this moment he knew.
all Matt, welcome back to the studio. Perfect timing. I've got great news to share, buddy. I have been unsuccessful in getting my MacBook to come back to life. I have reset the PRAM, reset the SMC 4 different times. I've double checked every single connection inside this MacBook at least twice, and I've got no video signal. Now the thing is, the computer's on because it is very warm, and I hear the trackpad. Oh, it's turning off. Oh God. I think I broke my MacBook. Now that I've done all of the normal troubleshooting of plugging and unplugging, I need to take more drastic measures. I think I need to try to swap my old battery back in to see if this still theoretically functional battery, why do you have another MacBook there?
So this is the one that I worked on 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it works pretty
Are you just
well.
rubbing it in?
Ish. Well, I'm giving you a get out of jail free card.
Can I steal your logic board? Ew, Core i3, N3. Bro, wait, this is like 2016, right?
Beggars can't be choosers with this one. So if you need extra parts.
No. You keep that away from me. I've gone through a lot. I spent a lot of money on this thing. And
Yeah, how much money exactly?
like $200.
Wait, what?
What was that?
Wait, huh? How much did you pay?
$589.
What?
What?
Whoa, what?
That's almost M1 MacBook Air pricing. What
It is
is
in fact
wrong with
$10
you?
less than a brand new MacBook Air on Walmart. Well, if it makes you feel better, I also spent another $80 on the battery and the iFixit kit. I need to figure out what's wrong. Is it the battery or did I fry my logic board? Those are, I think, my two options here. No. Update. I have a fully functional MacBook. It's just not mine. This is a 2017 logic board with a 100% battery and a 2015 MacBook chassis. So I basically borrowed Ken's 2015 MacBook and I swapped it. So this is my original MacBook. I just yoinked the logic board out and replaced it with Ken's. I was trying to figure out what was going on here. And the answer is that, I don't know. But my logic board is good. I swapped into a different MacBook chassis entirely and it is functional. So I still want to get my logic board in my chassis with my battery. I've also switched my original battery back in, but that was not the problem. The good news is I did not ruin my very, very expensive logic board with the Core i7 and the whole deal. Bottom line is this. I have or will be able to make myself a fully functional, maxed out, brand new battery MacBook. I just need to figure out what combination of chassis, logic board, and battery is the magic secret sauce, because something in here is real f***ed up. Okay, my friends, I have glorious news to share. Ignore the piles of broken MacBook bits and bobs on the table. This is my fully functional 12-inch MacBook Ultimate Spec Edition. Now, those who are astute among you, those eagle-eyed, sharp-eyed, okay, this is mostly Ken's MacBook. Okay, let me explain.
Yeah, that's great explaining.
I'll be entirely honest with you, I don't fully understand what went wrong. So I went on my quest to figure it out. And the final configuration is I took Ken's 12-inch MacBook, which was a base 2015 model. I used the screen, the main chassis, which would be like the keyboard and the touchpad. I swapped in my logic board. I also swapped the battery. So he actually already had done a third-party battery replacement. However, his battery was very sus. It kept restarting, and it did the same thing with me. So part of my sort of confusion with this was I was fighting a faulty third-party battery that he had already had. Our battery health has skyrocketed to 102%, which I will point out is a bigger number than 80 and also a bigger number than 100,
Wow.
which I don't think is possible, but it's fine. Do you see that 5 hours and 43-minute number? That's the highest amount of battery it has ever thought that I was gonna have.
Sounds a little too great.
It lasts a solid 45 minutes longer than this one did. Okay, let me walk you through, at the end of my long journey, how much I spent. The initial purchase of this MacBook, $520. I spent an additional $20 on my iFixit tools, which I will say were very helpful. The battery adhesive remover and all that kind of stuff was definitely worth it. And then I borrowed a MacBook, which I'm gonna give back to Ken in perfectly good working order, which I think is free.
I don't think that functions anymore, and I definitely don't think it was free. I think you have to add that cost in there.
Fine. I already pulled it up on eBay. If I wanted to buy a somewhat broken 12-inch MacBook, we're looking at between $130 and $140. Because I didn't need the logic board, right? All I needed was just
Whoa. That's all you needed, but you didn't know that's all you needed. So theoretically, if we didn't have just another one lying around, you would have had to have bought a probably fully functioning one just to see what was
just to
going
swap
on.
the logic board and the battery out.
Yeah. I'll be generous.
Okay,
I'll say
generous.
like low 200s.
Okay, thank you.
The total comes out to $821. And that is not including sales tax, not including shipping, anything else. This is
Labor
me giving,
also not included?
yeah, this is me giving you the benefit of the doubt.
Don't be a big old dum-dum like your buddy Austin and try to build the ultimate 12-inch MacBook, because I'll tell you, it was not worth it. I also, and I hate that I'm saying this out loud, but I'm gonna say it, it's technically not the ultimate one because I've got a 2015 keyboard on this. But at this point, I'm gonna stop while I'm not ahead. Was this all worth it? Absolutely not. Compared to a, let's just say, random MacBook Air today, an M4, whatever the case is, right? Which was only a little bit more expensive than this whole unit. You're getting like, I'm being generous here, like 3 times the battery life, probably like 10 times the performance. I have updated this to the most recent version of macOS Sequoia. It's a little buggy. Like, I would say every 2 or 3 days, the graphics driver doesn't graphics anymore and I have to restart it and sometimes it hangs, I might actually downgrade this to a slightly older version of macOS. And even though it is probably going to be incredibly slow, incredibly out of date in the year of 2025, I can't help it. This is a bad idea. I'm glad I got this out of my system. It has been a great crash course in learning how to assemble and disassemble a 12-inch MacBook. But Apple, if you're thinking about building me a brand new Apple Silicon-powered 12-inch MacBook, sign me up. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the ding-a-ling button so that you can see your resident local ding-a-ling let you know about things that you shouldn't do with technology, like ruin multiple MacBooks for almost no good reason at all.
You almost cried like 4 times.
I cried a little bit the other night.